The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are not necessarily representative of the Coalition or any other entity. This content is intended for mature audiences only.
What is going on, people? What is going on, people? Welcome to another episode of Throwdown Your Questions. I'm your host, Tony Polanco, and I'm joined by Emilio Lopez.
And we're back.
Chris Seeley.
Hey, what's up, everyone?
Carlos Romero.
Yo, yo, yo.
And Brett Murdoch.
Heyo.
All right, a little bit of weirdness going on in the background because I didn't get the notification that we're live, even though I'm looking at OBS and it says we're live.
Yeah, I'm not seeing the show live on YouTube either. So
this threw me last time.
Yeah, imagine if we're not live right now. Well, that shouldn't be a problem. But it said, what the fuck?
Yeah, it says off air on my screen still.
No, I mean it's gonna say off air here anyway. It's never gonna say on air. You know. I think we need to do something because I pressed the Alt as always. There it is. Now we're fucking like, yo, this thing is stupid. I'm just gonna assume we're live, you know?
We're live. Just saw it.
Yeah, it's so fucking dumb. We'll fix it. Anyway, we'll probably regale you with some Comic-Con stories on Thursday if we have time. But today,
or if you asked any questions about our time.
Yeah, as long as they're related to video games. But let me pull this shit up. We're having a very interesting conversation beforehand, which we'll probably pick up again on Thursday. It was about the whole Bethesda nonsense with Wolfenstein, man. It's funny shit going on in America, man. I'll just leave it at that. You know what I'm saying? By the way, today was Columbus Day, and craziness happened too. I guess we can't say Happy Columbus Day anymore. I don't know, man.
Well, yeah, because I didn't get the day off, man. It sucks.
Yeah.
I mean, it is still a federal holiday, but
listen, man. By the way, I'm vamping because I'm trying to find my fucking show notes, but it's like, I don't really care what the fuck you call today. Just give people the day off. You know, I really. I mean,
they're gonna still call it, whatever day, or Indigenous People Day or whatever they want to call it. But you know what, I'm not angry at the past, to be honest.
Hey,
you know what?
Hey, you know what? Yeah, I'm not. Hey, whatever happened to the past, I'm here now. I'm not complaining.
Because I feel like, I don't know. I know if, Christopher Columbus was probably an asshole. Then again, most of those Manifest Destiny people were probably assholes too because they wanted to spread their religion all over the place. But there's nothing different with what they were doing than what other people have done throughout time.
Yep.
Actually,
the thing is about learning from the past and not repeating those things over and over again. Forcing yourself upon other people, your beliefs on other people. That is just wrong.
Yeah. All right. Let's not get into that. Thank you for that. By the way, man, you sound very good now. Man, lost his voice. I got
a little bit of throat in there, so I got like
throat. All right, man. Let's move on here. So, oh shit, Carlos, I actually need to send you the truncated questions. I'll worry about that later. Okay, so first up, my man Gary Swaby asking us some questions, man. All right,
Mr. Gary
Swaby from the Coalition. All right, so his first one is, with all this incredible technology in our mobile phones, why do you think we haven't been able to type in the name of our created character and have the people in the game be able to say it? Go ahead.
You cut out for a second, at least on my side. You did.
Yeah, mine too.
Fuck. Part. Okay, do I need to repeat the question again? Fuck.
The second half.
Yeah,
he just wants to know, like, with technology and shit. You know how in RPGs you could put in the name of your character or whatever, but they never say it, they never vocalize it. So I want to know, why can't they vocalize it with today's technology?
Oh, well, you know why that is. That's because they would have to literally have the voice actors record every single syllable in the English language in order for a digital voice to recreate that. That's how those things work. That's how Siri works or something like that. All those digital voices. There's samples of the different syllables and nuances in speech essentially essentially repeated repeated digitally. So every single voice actor in the game would have to go ooh, ah, e, ooh, a, e, I, every single inflection in order for it to sound right. Because then all it will happen, it'll just be like this. Hello. Hey, how you doing, Tony? I'm doing quite well. How is Tony doing? It'd be like that. So that's exactly
Not
why.
only that, you'd have to record all of the different syllables in different inflections.
In different inflections, and that would probably, that would probably extend the amount of time for voice acting. So rather than do all of that, they just said, "Yeah, you know what? Let's just do that. Just make it."
Fallout kind of did it, but only with like some of the more popular names.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think
There's
we
still,
need
like,
to. Yeah, I don't even
names
think
in
we
there.
need to go too much further into that one. To be honest.
Yeah, like names like Jack and John, stuff like that. Dave,
yeah.
I'm sure Tony would be in there.
I
Tony
think my
probably
name.
be in
Here's the thing. I put my name in there, and they said it maybe 3 times in the entire game.
Hey, Tony.
Yeah.
Codsworth is the only one that says it. They only had one voice actor record all the names.
Yeah. That's probably why I didn't hear it.
Codsworth said your names?
Yeah, he does.
Oh, damn. It sucks that I have my name is Carlos. He's not gonna,
Yeah,
not gonna have that.
that makes me think about whenever you try to get those you go to an amusement park or someplace, you try to find your name in one of those little keychains. It's never there, especially if you have a incredibly ethnic sounding name like Carlos or Emilio.
Dude, mine's never on there either. That's why my gamer tag has been Bort for years.
I gotta think of way more ethnic sounding names than those, by the way.
No, Jose would be on there because there's 1,000 Jose's in them.
Yeah.
And Juan.
And Juan, that's gonna be there. All right. Let's move on to the next question here. As a game, we know Shenmue was groundbreaking because of its visuals and game mechanics at the time. But what do you honestly think of the story? Tough one,
I like the story of Shenmue. It has that kind of hero's journey. I mean, granted, the story to Shenmue is not like overly complicated. It's not like there's all these twists and turns. You kind of know where you're going to be going from beginning to end. It's just about getting there and how you get there. You can say goodbye to Nozomi, or you could just friggin' leave. The only sad part of all of that story bits from the first game to the second game is that a lot of that all gets lost for the third game because there's no save file to be like, hey, you did all this stuff last time.
Yeah, so it's like, how do you bring that over,
I don't know. I don't even remember this story, to be honest.
I barely remember. That's why I can't,
Tony, you're on mute.
My bad. I that's the thing. It was like 20 years ago I played. I'm like, I just remember it was epic for the time.
It's it's a normal martial arts story. It's like, you killed my father, I'm going to kill you. That's it. That's the story of Shenmue.
I just remember fighting like 1 million guys in that tower at the end, like that, and Landy and the sailors and shit.
Okay. The guys in the tower, that's Shenmue 2. Shenmue 1 is just the search for Landy.
Yeah.
Right. Who is the guy that killed your father? Okay, it's this guy named Landy. Where the fuck did he go? China. That's it.
Yeah.
That's what.
Yeah, you go to China. And then Shenhua shows up at the end.
Yeah. So you get all these. The thing is that it's just about like how you find this information. Before you don't even know who the frig Landy is.
Yeah, I am
go
Landy.
to the town. And then you go to the town, they're like, yes, this guy, the day of the incident. So it's like you figuring out who the guy is that killed your father is and where the hell he went. And that's the first game. The second game is like, again, you're chasing after this guy and you're going to all these different places. And, all those missions and things are just kind of things that, just you kind of figuring out the clues to get there and trying to get strong so you can actually beat him.
Yeah,
it's a total martial arts story.
Pretty much, By the way, Carlos, I threw the shortened versions in the actual show notes just to make it easier. Cool. All right, next up here, Mr. G Megaforce 123. So he asked, have you ever switch voice languages in a video game. I always prefer Japanese language with English subtitles if available, especially if the game is a JRPG. It just seems more natural that way for me. I've never switched languages, to be honest. Like I always kept them whatever the standard is. Even with Star Ocean, the last one, they had Japanese voices because the American ones were pretty terrible. But it's like I don't want to read anymore, so I just put on the shitty American voices. But other than that, I leave it for whatever it is. Most games don't have voice languages though. At least the ones I play, very rare. So that's kind of why the question is a little bit weird. Because it's like most games, at least the ones I've played, don't have those to begin with. You know,
Persona. I mean, the Persona. A lot of the recent Persona game is one of the instances where I've actually heard that's in there. Also, same thing with Nier. Nier is actually all in English, and you can put the game in English in Japan, but you could also put all the Japanese. Put all the Japanese in America.
Yeah, Demon Souls is like that too. The Japanese version of the game, all the text is in Japanese, but the voice acting is in English.
Oh shit, that's crazy.
I played last year. I was playing Final Fantasy 15 in Japanese, and I changed to English because for some reason in video games, playing the game and reading subtitles is way more annoying than, like, for example, watching anime and reading subtitles. I just didn't really get used to it. So I switched it to the English, and it's the voice acting in English wasn't too bad.
Well, one of the things I could see doing it in an RPG for is because, at least, for us older guys who remember the old RPGs, I mean, there was no talking in Final Fantasy games.
Yeah, none of that shit.
Until, like, maybe 10. Yeah, 10. 10 had talking.
Yeah, 10 was the first one, yeah.
So, to be honest, I wouldn't have minded if having it in another language, or if they had it in some sort of mysterious Final Fantasy language, because... like that stupid what are the Ishbal, not Ishbal, what the hell is that in Final Fantasy X?
What?
The language they were speaking.
I have no idea.
Albed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Albed. Yeah.
If the whole game was in that funky Albed language, I wouldn't have minded because I'm so used to reading in the RPGs in general.
Yeah. Anybody else switch languages, Chris?
Nah, I usually just leave it default because I hate reading subtitles too.
Yeah.
Especially in a game, man. You got to pay attention to some of this stuff. I can't be reading stuff. I don't even like this. Even the anime, I just deal with it. It's like, whatever. Even if it's bad English.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just more convenient that way.
I do change the language in fighting games.
Oh, you want the Japanese ones, right?
Yeah, like especially in the Street Fighter games. Like, it's weird seeing Ryu say, I'm Ryu, something. I'm like, what?
Yeah, you don't even need subtitles in those games because you know what they're going to say anyways.
Yeah, it's like, I personally don't mind, like, I don't mind Japanese fighting games being in Japanese. Like, it's like, I'm a total American. Exo, Yeah.
Oh, you reminded me, by the way, I switch on FIFA. I would put the Spanish announcers.
The Spanish, because they have him on there, right?
Yeah, they have that guy. I don't even know what his name is, but yeah,
I can't remember his name. Yeah,
his voice is, man, it's iconic.
He's like, I'm glad that he put him in there. And it's funny because it also doesn't draw attention to the kind of repeating dialogue, at least.
Yeah,
like it was like, he's on the pitch. And it's like, it's the same way you said that.
Yep.
Yeah. Brett, man, what about you? Mr. Murdoch.
Right. Nah, I never bothered changing the languages.
Yeah. All right. Next question here. Why? This is an interesting one. I wish Brian was here for this one. Shit. Why is playing sexy anime games looked down upon? Guys like sexy and cute girls, and sometimes even girls like sexy and cute girls. So what exactly is the issue with playing games that revolve around sexy, cute girls? Why is it considered so taboo by the West? I know the answer, but go ahead, Manny.
I always say that it's a weird sort of thing because I think, at least with a lot of the Japanese games, they're very young looking. There's a lot of that, because apparently in Japan, the legal age for sex and stuff is kind of young, at least within our standards. I think that's why a lot of people, one of the reasons why people kind of look down on it, it's like, oh, that's like close to pedophilia. The other reason I think is just at least nowadays I think people are just afraid of themselves and the things that they feel. You know, I think that people just would want to believe that our lives are not just for the for our own reproduction, you know, and that people actually do find these things attractive. I don't know.
Yeah, for me, because you know how it is. Like in the West, anything animated is seen as kiddie shit, right? So
There's
if you're,
also that.
yeah, so if you're lusting over a cartoon, there's something wrong with you. You could have these girls look like fucking what's the name of that movie? Cool World, right? Have them looking like that, right? Or like Jessica Rabbit, hot as shit. People still look down upon you. It's like that's a cartoon, man. What the fuck is wrong with you? You know? And then over in the West, and I mean in the Eastern countries, cartoons, animated stuff is not really as looked down upon as it is here. So there's definitely that component. It's like you're a weird, creepy dude if you think anime girls are hot because that's a fucking cartoon and you should know better.
I think you're focusing on the wrong part of it.
Well, that's what I see. How do you see this?
I see it that in the West we have a problem with sexualization. We've kind of regressed into very puritanical standards.
It kind of comes from what our country came from. I mean, the Pilgrims.
It is.
And all those
Well,
guys,
but it's regressive because we had broken out of that and rolled back. I mean, a good evidence of this is go back and watch movies from the 80s. They do a lot more fucked up stuff and push a lot more boundaries than movies today are. And so we've kind of entered this regression where we don't sexualize things for the most part. Even in like God of War, the part people make a big deal over very minor things, over implied sex, not even just nudity. The Mass Effect games also come to mind. I think the big difference is that is something that we have in the West that they don't have that kind of hang up about sexualizing things in the East. And a big part of that is their culture right now. They're going through this weird thing where a lot of people aren't dating. A lot of young people aren't dating, and that's actually kind of a quasi crisis over there right now. And people aren't dating because they have the option to. It's a chicken or the egg thing. They have a culture set up around the idea of kind of all the bits and pieces of romance broken down and then distributed. Like you can have, waitresses that hang out with you. You can spend time and money to go into a cuddle room and have somebody spoon you while you nap. You have virtual girlfriends. You're getting all of these different things. So they don't have the hangups on sexualization the way that we do. So they have video games that express this, whereas we in the West don't have those because we don't produce them and we don't really accept them either. I mean, look at the big fucking crisis that came up around Honey Pop. I'm pretty sure that game didn't even have nudity in it. It was a flirty, weird dating sim kind of thing, puzzle game, from what I understand. So I think that we just have cultural wide hangups that the East doesn't, and it makes the transition hard for those guys.
I also think it also affects places like France too, where they're a little more accepting of nudity and of sexualization over there than they are over here. Because in it's like everybody over here doesn't see a woman in an ad and automatically they're considered sexualized. What about the guys that are not wearing shirts in the underwear ads? That's still sexualization as well, but that somehow gets passed.
Feminist movement. I'll just say it.
Oh man! All right. Anybody else want to jump in on that, Chris? What do you think?
Brett nailed it.
Yeah.
I was gonna say it's because of our puritanical bullshit and we're going backwards, but he said it very eloquently and nicely.
Yeah, pretty much. He
you
kind
know,
of
the
just
thing
said what I said, but just nicer. It is that bullshit. But you also have to factor in the cartoon thing too. It's like that's a kiddie thing, Definitely the puritanical thing overrides all that shit.
The thing about it is that people need to understand is that there is all you can still. You don't need. It doesn't need to be wrong. We try to hide what things are going on in our brains when we see these sorts of things, and try to pretend that these things are gross and horrible.
What's that pretend? It's just ingrained in the culture. There's two problems that we have. So first, Brett nailed it with the puritanical stuff. Second thing is that people in the West, especially, were guilty of this. People think cartoons cannot be used to tell adult stories.
Yeah.
They think cartoons can only be used to tell children's stories, right? And so when they see adult stuff represented with cartoons, their brains break and go, "Oh, this is gross," right? No, it's not gross. You can use animation to tell any type of story you want.
Yep.
So that's the problem. That's the two things we got to get out of our culture. Get off your high horse. It's up here. It's like, don't judge anybody because they like whatever they like. They like whatever. You're allowed to. We have freedom here. Remember, supposed to have it. Secondly, it's like cartoons can tell anything you want.
Exactly.
It's the same what happens. It's the same thing that happens with comics. In the United States, that people think that comics are just about superheroes, when around the world you find that there are comics about everything. It's only that the superhero genre was the only thing that survived after the comics code, and we tried to homogenize the comics industry.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Oh, by the way, quick shout out to Victor Alicine, who says he likes our video format. Thank you, man.
Thank you.
All right. Let's move on here to Black Metal Gamer. All right. So his first question is, what are some of your top favorite horror games? Okay, it's actually a two-part question. Let's answer that one first. I've never been like a big horror game type of guy, but I always liked Resident Evils and shit. But that's about as far as I got. Like I liked Alien Isolation. I think that was the name. I'm forgetting the fucking name now. Alien Isolation. And yeah, that's kind of it for me. Resident Evil and Alien Isolation.
Yo, man, you a chicken.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I'll say it. I'm a bitch when it comes to those type of games, man. Like somebody told me I got to play Outlast. I'm like, how about I don't play that? Fuck that shit. What about you, Manny?
Favorite horror games. Let's see. I would say definitely Resident Evil. I would say the one, I think it's the Condemned, the one with the guy in the jail.
Yeah, Criminal Origins.
Yeah, I thought
you're thinking of The Suffering or something.
The Suffering. Yeah, that game was nutty.
Yeah, Condemned was on Xbox with the psychos that are coming after you. Man.
Oh yeah, no, that's not the Condemned.
Yeah, I was getting them confused too.
The Condemned, yeah, that's the Condemned one is with the night vision goggles, right? And the camera almost.
Yeah, and you're always in first person.
Yeah, that one. I would also say that one, the one that came on the N64, something dark. Shit,
Perfect.
It's the one where the game fucks with you. The more that you
Eternal
the
Darkness.
more you get Eternal Darkness. I would have to say that one too. And Castlevania. Castlevania 2 scared the shit out of me. especially when the frigging game does that thing where it's like, the day has been replaced by the cursed night. I'm like, oh fucking shit! I'm in the town and everyone's turned into fucking zombies.
The best was when you're about to get in the church. You're like, oh, I need to heal so bad, and then it would do that, and you're like, oh,
yeah.
Shit.
You're like, oh fuck.
Stuck here.
Yeah. Chris, what about you, man?
Oh,
Bloodborne.
there's so many. Well, Bloodborne is good. The Souls series is great. Yeah, you can consider it horror. Consider the bosses will give you nightmares. Even my best nightmare ain't as scary as the shit the Japanese come up with.
You know what? If that's the case, I'll throw those games in there. Dark Souls 3 and Bloodborne, the ones I played.
If I had to go old school, I'd say the original Alone in the Dark series on PC. I'll go back to 1990,
nice.
Whatever that came out. Silent Hill was good.
Yes. That one's that type of horror where you can't fucking explain what the fucking horror is.
Yeah. It's just
it's like that weird. It's like that weird Twin Peaks ish, like weird, like David Lynch.
Yeah, that's a good analogy.
Yeah, it's like David Lynch and what's his face? The guy who makes all those. The guy who made The Fly.
Oh, David Cronenberg.
David
Cronenberg.
Yeah.
It's like if you took those two things and just mashed them together.
Yeah. So that was good. Like Silent Hill fell off after the first two, but the first two games were good. Let's see. I did like the Outlast games. They're creepy because you can't fight back. You just have to constantly run and hide, and then think about what you're gonna do next. Um, I love Castlevania, except for the last two travesties. Yeah,
Yes.
Lords of Shadows, both of those garbage games, you know.
Those
And
garbage games.
I mean the nightmare sequence in Metal Gear Solid 3 was better than both those games.
Yes.
Oh God, Guy Savage.
Yes. So yeah, that's my
Ooh,
thing.
how could I forget Dead Space, man?
Oh yes,
Dead
yes.
Space.
Yeah, there you
We're
go.
getting old.
Game
Shit,
scared the
that's
fuck out of
so
me.
good.
Yeah,
So
those are
good.
good. Those are good. Yeah, those are good. All right, Carlos, man, what about you?
Many people won't agree, but I think this was more due to the age I was Friday the 13th for the NES, man. I was like 3 or 4 years old when I
Yeah.
played that. That thing scared the shit out of me, man. When Jason came out, it was over, man. I just freaking panicked.
Yeah, see, for
Dropped the
us,
controller.
it was scary for a different reason. How scary bad it was. Game was fucking trash.
It's
You
like
know?
it's like you would like it was a combination of the music and how you would go inside the little houses and you would just turn, and whenever you turn you don't know what the hell would pop up. That was a scary part for me. So yeah. And most of the games you guys mentioned, they're just classics.
Yeah, for sure. Brett, what about you?
Just scariest horror games of all time.
Your favorites.
I'm not big on the jump scares, so I mean, yeah, obviously if I could throw the Souls games in there, I'm going to. Parasite Eve, I liked.
I didn't remember.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd throw Hellblade in there.
Hellblade could be scary. I
liked the way in which Hellblade was scary. It didn't rely on jump tactics or anything like that. It just presented you with a hellish landscape, a really minimalist kind of soundtrack, a bunch of voices in your head. Like it built ambiance very well, especially for the game that it was. Everybody loves Resident Evil 4. No exception. Yeah,
I feel like we're missing. Like we've played some of these games where like not remembering.
Yeah, I think
like
that's what
totally
it is.
remember Dead Space. I
Yeah.
love Dead Space. Like, how did I not remember Dead Space?
I think we're like collectively having old man moments right now.
Eternal Darkness.
Eternal
Darkness.
Yeah. Oh man, you mentioned that one.
Yeah.
I'll throw Dying Light in there. Dying Light was good.
Dying Light.
Yo, when it turns night, that shit gets really
Yeah.
fucking scary.
Yeah, dude, you're like, that is one of the few games when I actually remember like running and you're like don't look back, and then you make the mistake of pressing the button that makes you look back for no other reason than to see everything. And you're like, that's just like, don't press that button. You're just gonna you're like, oh my god.
Yeah, it's like murder's behind you, so just keep
Murder.
Don't stop.
By the way,
you don't need to know how close behind you it is.
I agree with Anchorman. The first couple of levels of BioShock were freaking scary, man. I don't care what anybody says. Like, just the fact that you didn't know what the hell you were in.
Yeah, you didn't know what was going on. Yeah.
Dude, the first time you saw a little sister digging through like a corpse with that big fucking needle, you're like, what the shit is going? I think that's something BioShock 3 completely missed, and I think they missed the boat on that. Like, yeah, you guys took the whole like horrifying Art Nouveau kind of thing out of it and just went with weird country bumpkin American.
Country bumpkin American.
The scariest thing of all. You know,
I know Far Cry 5 is about that.
Oh shit! Yeah, right. The second part of the question is just, I guess it would be for the whoever's willing to. He wants to know, since it is October, are we going to stream any scary games? I'll leave that up to you guys, man. I'm good.
I mean, we could go back into the world of Bloodborne.
Yeah, we could team up in
If
there.
anybody wants to go do some chalice dungeons,
man, I know what you're trying to do, man.
I'm down.
Scary game. We could do that. I mean, they're scary hard. So, I would say. Oh, sorry, Brett. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I was talking to somebody about this the other day because I finally picked up Fallout 4 again. Man, the very first time that the feral ghouls came charging at me out of the fucking bushes, I lost my shit. I'm not sure if anybody else was like, I was talking to somebody else about that, like, dude, right? Like, I didn't know what to expect. They were so fast, and they were right on top of you. And anybody else?
We could play the intro of Metal Gear Solid 5.
Oh yeah, that shit is scary. Yeah.
Some
Yeah,
PT.
When you're in the hospital?
Yeah, getting out of
Yeah,
the
we're in the
hospital.
hospital, or we could stream PT.
Yeah. Hey, thank
Oh,
you,
man.
Bruno, for subscribing to us. I heard the noise. I'm like, wait a minute,
Yay.
subscribe to us, but I couldn't see it in real time. So thank you. We saw the little Chun-Li animation. It's awesome. All right. Next question here. What is the worst game of all time? And I mean worst. Like if you took your sworn enemy into a purgatory prison cell with only a screen and a controller to play the worst game, and he has to play it in order to live, or he gets gassed to death. What game is the most horrible, torturous experience for him? He goes, haha, I felt like asking this morbid question because it fits the month. And he goes, his answer is virtual high hidlide or desert bus. Virtual Hidlide was a Sega Saturn game that came out in Japan. I think objectively, the answer is E.T. That's like the worst game of all time. Also, Superman 64 was fucking trash.
Yeah, there's a lot of trash. I would
Jekyll and Hyde for the Nintendo Entertainment System.
Shit.
I would say more modern. Batman: Dark Tomorrow is one of the. It's not
Oh, yeah, I heard
Superman
that was
64,
trash, yeah.
but it's a trash game. It's horrible.
And Lords of Shadow, we already talked about. Fucking.
I think I got one that beats all those.
Oh, what's that?
Sneak King.
Oh, sneaking the Burger King game.
Oh shit.
That's what I would lock in a room with somebody that I hate.
I don't know. I feel like the racing game was worse. The Burger King Racer or whatever they created for that. I think that one was a little worse.
Oh, maybe?
You're trying to remember it.
No, I'm just remembering, like, I didn't play Sneak King, but I knew how bad it was.
Yeah, there's so many that I mean, if you hate someone, lock them in a room with a working CDI and put any of the Zelda games in it.
Yeah, the Wand of Gamelon and all that shit.
Yeah.
The Wand of Gamelon.
I mean,
now I sound like one of them now. Link.
How bad does a game have to be before it's good again, though? Like, does Night Trap count as one of the worst games of all time?
No,
or
it's not.
So bad it's good.
It's not that bad.
I think it's like self-aware that it's bad. That's what makes it good. It doesn't take itself seriously.
It's like really. It's like bad. It's like playing like a bad B movie.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I can't say it was that bad.
But it wasn't
That's
that good
saying.
either.
No, if you're judging about like terms of like, is how good a game is this? You're like, not good, not good at all. But it's got a weird charm because it knows it's not good.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so let's move on here. Who are we up to? Oh yeah, a new name here, Antonio Suarez, 24Z. What's going on, brother?
Up, Antonio.
Okay, so he gives a little setup before he asks his questions. I hate loot boxes, and I think they are cancer to gaming. They are coming into every game, single player, multiplayer, full price games. There are a lot of issues out there. Don't buy them. Loot boxes help fund the game development. It doesn't affect me, so I don't care, etc. These randomly generated loot boxes is a gambling system inside gaming. They use many of the same techniques as slot machines to hook you. All right. So his first question is, should there be regulations such as age restrictions or warnings on games with loot boxes, given that they're kind of gambling the way he sees it? But very topical, given what's going on. Every fucking game has a loot box now. Let me, fill me in if I'm missing some. Star Wars Battlefront 2, World War II, Call of Duty, Forza 7, and Shadow of Mordor or Shadow War all have loot boxes of some kind.
Well, how is this any different from in-app purchases in mobile games?
It isn't at all.
Bullshit?
Yeah, it's the same bullshit. Yeah.
I don't want it. Not even a warning. I want to get rid of it. I want this shit gone out of games. Like this is like worse than DLC. Like I was like, how do you stoop lower than season passes and microtransactions, that like the lowest kind of microtransactions is a mobile in-app purchase. That's what a loot box is. You just gave it a nice name.
Oh no, loot box is worse because sometimes you'll get absolutely nothing from the box, and instead of being able to blame the developer, they're like, "That's just RNG for you." So basically, they're making the like a DM, like a good DM, they're making the dice the asshole, which relieves them of responsibility.
Oh shit! I wasn't aware it was a like luck of the draw.
It is luck of the draw. Yes, luck of the draw. Yeah.
Oh no, that's complete garbage. No, fuck that. No. If you don't know what you're buying, no, this is like a lottery scratch off ticket. Don't put that shit in video.
Well, and here's the thing: it can't be illegal because you're not gaining anything worth value or currency. This is the equivalent of a carnival game. You're going to lose even if you win.
But you are putting real money into it. This is like
you put real money into carnival games, but all you can win is stuff.
A carnival game has the potential for an actual prize. You're just being swindled, right? But you get a physical. There's a teddy bear up there. You know you're going to get that. This is the horse armor argument. Like you're still paying for that, right? You're still putting real money into virtual currency. So there should be.
You can't put a gambling warning on it. I'm saying I'm not speaking morally. I'm speaking legally. You can't put a gambling warning on it because you're not receiving money back. It's the same way like people under 21 can play claw machines and go to Chuck E. Cheese or whatever. It's not technically gambling.
No. I'm not saying to put a warning on it. I'm saying like we need to stop them from doing this. Like you guys need to stop buying these fucking games. Then stand on principle. This is bullshit. Don't buy this fucking game.
Well, it's even worse because go ahead.
I was just going to mention, I don't know, with my experiences with loot boxes, they generally, you don't have to buy them. And what they do give you is like skins and characters sometimes and random stuff.
Here's the crux. The new Battlefront, the way that you progress through the game isn't that you have a level that dictates the loot that is dropped to you. The loot that is dropped to you is what dictates your level. So, for instance, to get class powers like star cards and things like that, they have to come out of these crates. And the crates that you use to level up are the same ones that you can buy online. And if I read somebody did the math on Reddit, basically, if what the beta has shown is about right, to get the parts to craft a card that you need, you're going to need to play in general between 9 and 12 hours of the game to get all the parts you need to craft the card that you want, or you can just buy these crates. So they've basically, Tony and I can play the exact same amount of matches over the exact same amount of time, even be on the same team, and I could progress faster and open more abilities simply due to the luck of what's in these crates. And the fact that they've tied those same crates into the microtransactions mean that it is literally pay to win.
I find, but it's more nefarious pay to win because it's not the golden shotgun with stopping power. Now it's just luck of the draw. But if you get lucky, then you get the golden gun with stopping power and prestige on it. So that
you get to possibly buy a level if you're lucky.
So instead of earning your way via playing or grinding to your level, you can just get a wormhole through the whole process and just pay your way through.
Basically. Yeah. So no, you don't even have to. As I understand, you don't even have to level up to get access to your new powers. Like all leveling up does is basically gives you these loot boxes.
And that's crazy.
Yeah. So they're sewing it pretty hard into Battlefront, and I'm afraid of it going and continuing that direction. And don't get me wrong, RNG is fun sometimes. Like it's abused almost 99.9999% of the time. But yeah, like there's a problem, even in Destiny. Like it's RNG keeps you from topping out. There was a time in Warcraft when you're like, I remember when they're like, oh no, basically, if you beat a boss in Warcraft, something is definitely going to drop for your class. I was almost a little bit disappointed because part of the fun was running through I mean, like, what are we gonna get? What are we gonna get? And they're like, it's a hunter's tunic. Are there any hunters in the party? And there's one guy like, I'm a hunter. I'm a hunter. Like, sweet. Well, I guess you get a fucking tunic because none of the rest of us can use it. I was a little disappointed when they took that away. So I won't be a hypocrite and say that I don't like RNG sometimes, but you can't tie it into. It needs to be a reward system. It can't be tied into necessary progression like this. It should be the way that you find the super awesome badass sword by completing an activity 30 times, and each time it has a 1% chance to drop the super awesome sword. So, like, I'm all for grinding for shit. I am not all for buying loot crates. So I'm just saying I'm not bastardizing random number generation. That's fine with me. But what they're doing to it is not fine with me.
Yeah, I did a video on this, Tony's Take, earlier today about this, and some guys in the comments, they want me to, you guys already did it, they want me to denounce this shit, right? My thing is, okay, I personally don't like loot boxes, I wouldn't put me into them, but I also can't, like, tell somebody what to do with their money, right? If you want to buy into that shit, I can't stop you. I don't think you should do it, but I also can't stop you. And then here's the thing, the guy who does the MPDs, right? Vince Sampella, I forgot his fucking name. Piscatella, right? He brought up a good point. He's like, the only reason we have loot boxes and all that other shit is because people buy this shit. And, like, Activision, they made like $3 billion off this shit last year. EA made $1 billion. Like, these companies make an insane amount of money. So it's like we hear gamers all the time talking about, oh, this shit is fucked up, but people are still buying it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, okay, you can complain all you want, but you're still buying this shit, you know?
And if you buy it, they keep pushing it a bit further. Like, they'll keep pushing these type of transactions or whatever further if they see it's working.
Yeah.
Right? To them, they just see numbers. They just see money. Oh, they're buying it. They must like it. Look, how else can we milk them? You know?
Yeah. So, it goes back to the same thing. As we always say, if you don't like the practice, don't buy into it, But the fact, hold on, let me finish. But just the sheer fact that they're making so much money lets you know that people like this shit. So it's not going to stop anytime soon, Dude,
they're different people. They're totally different people. Think about it this way.
Yeah. Okay, because remember, you got to remember this, right? There aren't millions and millions and millions of hardcore extreme gamers like us. That the casuals, they buy into that shit because they don't want to spend 50 hours grinding for a piece of fucking mail or whatever. They just want the quick fix. We want it the right way, quote unquote the right way. But most people, I don't know what the percentage would be, but the vast majority of people don't care about that shit. They just want it. They want it now.
Let me pose it to you this way: who has more time, or who is more likely to post angrily on an internet forum? The guy who spent 300 hours grinding for a weapon that then somebody paid $20 and bought, so he's now pissed that somebody just bought their way up to his level after he's put all this time and money in, or the guy who was too busy to grind for that weapon, so he just bought it. Clue: one guy's too busy to post on the fucking internet. Yeah. So we're getting a very skewed response here about, like, yes, everybody who has a lot of time on their hands, aka the people not buying these things, are going to have time to post shit about them. And the people who are buying these things are people who don't have that much time, aka people who don't have time to tirade on the internet.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting because, again, you hear a lot, if you were just to go by what you hear on the internet, everybody hates loose boxes, but yet they sell out like crazy. So two different audiences here,
There's also that a big amount of people that just accepts it for what it is.
Yeah.
They don't like it, may not like it, but they don't say anything. They're like, all right, I guess that's the way this game works.
I don't like it. I don't like it in multiplayer games. Like, even with Destiny, man, like, I've seen so many people running around with, like, special hologram emote things. Like, I was like, all right, man, I've been playing this game long enough to know now that, like, the chances of you getting that shit without buying a bunch of bright engrams is fucking slim to none. So I'm slowly coming to realize how many, like, probably 80% of the population of Destiny has spent money on bright engrams.
Yeah, and think about it with GTA 5, right? Why do you think they keep that game still going? People buy all that shit, You know, they like remember
Dude,
every update is free on the game, but you can still buy shit. You know.
Okay, and you want to take the blame even a step further back than that. Before we had microtransactions like this in games, Warcraft gold sellers existed. When Warcraft
Yeah.
said we refuse to sell gold, people made an entire cottage industry selling motherfuckers Warcraft gold.
Yo, man, that shit was huge too, man.
Mhm.
Right? So if you want to blame anybody, we as a community started this before the companies even did.
That's a great point.
It's actually our fault.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. That's what I'm trying to tell people. It's like, you guys are getting so pissy at this. We're the fucking problem. We're the ones that started this.
We invented DLC, or we invented microtransactions. We invented currency purchasing. We made it a huge money-making thing. And then we got pissed when the developers who made the game went, you know, I'd really like the money from our game to be going to us instead of people who make bots and play online. And now we're in this world. Like this is literally Frankenstein's monster, you guys. Come on. We should be doing something about it. It does suck because it's gotten progressively worse, but we opened the floodgates on this one, guys.
Yeah,
not us, but that motherfucker that you knew that used to buy Warcraft gold, it's his fucking fault.
Yeah, I want to move on to the next question because it's related. What does the future of loot boxes look like in video games? Brett, since you were talking, what do you think the future holds, man?
I think this shit is going to collapse. I think it's going to get worse, and then it's going to roll backwards. They're going to continue, like Battlegrounds is probably the perfect example. They're going to tie critical progression into microtransactions. And the only way that they'll be able to do that without looking like huge douchebags is by having an RNG system. So it's not their fault that you got a duplicate item after you paid $4.99. RNG. And people will complain about it, but then other people will say, like, well, it's the luck of the draw. It gives them an easy out, but also allows them to tie progression to this crate system. So you can spend $10 and still not get the thing that you need. So you spend another $10 and still not get the thing that you need. It is a great way for them to grind money out of people while seeming like they're not the bad guy. It's just the roll of the dice. But I view it, I think it'll continue to go that way for a minute, and then people will get really fed up when they realize, you know, like, I've spent $50 in game and all I've gotten is bullshit, bullshit duplicates. You guys need to fix your RNG system. And then they won't fix the RNG system because it's secretly a mental trick to get everybody to spend more money. And then people will be like, well, your fucking RNG is broken. People abandon the game. That'll happen as a general thing over multiple games, and developers will wise up. The weird thing is that gamers may not ever actually realize what's going on. They may just complain that the RNG in this game is broken and that all these RNGs suck, like everybody's doing in Destiny. Like, oh, the fucking RNG sucks right now. Like, it's working like it's supposed to. Like, it's supposed to stop you at endgame, and yes, you're getting duplicates because you already have 12 of the same items. Like, that's how it works. But people will start complaining about that. People will start complaining about not spending or spending $30 and still not getting the fucking item they need. But in the meanwhile, that's going to be a slow burn because, like I just said, we don't really talk about this as a community. And the people that do these microtransactions are usually immediately frowned upon. So there's not going to be much incentive for a guy who spends $30. Like right now, I'm sure there's somebody out there who spent like 30 or 40 bucks in Destiny engrams and still hasn't got the cool emote that he wants. Do you see him yelling about it on a forum? No. Why? Because he doesn't really want to admit to an open gaming population that looks down upon microtransactions that he spent $40 on microtransactions. So it's going to cause this whole thing to come to a boil much slower than I would like. So I would say over the next 2 to 3 years, you'll see it getting progressively worse and then kind of quietly turn on its head. I don't think that we're ever as a group going to stand up and be like, fuck this because of this. We'll just complain about the results, the symptoms, as opposed to the problem. And they'll realize that there's no more blood to squeeze out of that rock and silently move on to whatever next dirty tactic they have.
Yeah. Chris, what do you think, man, the future of loot boxes and games?
Oh, yeah, I agree with Brett. I really believe these guys, the greed knows no bounds, and they're going to just keep tacking on policies, making the gambling AI, whatever, worse. You're gonna get worse crap in there. They're gonna start adding in the most worthless things ever to sour the pot, and Brett nailed it. People are going to get aggravated, pissed off, and abandon the games. And you're going to make a sequel with that same system, and people are not going to buy it. And you're going to be like, "Whoa, this sold terribly." Yeah, well, stop being fucking greedy. You know, stop with this bullshit. But they're gonna bury it. They're gonna, like everything else in the AAA gaming industry, they just run it into the ground, and loot boxes will be one more thing.
Yeah. What else do you guys think? Nobody has any more input. All right. I don't know. I'm gonna go with Brett on this one. I think he hit it on the head there.
It's only going to get bigger.
Yeah, it is.
Like,
yeah.
There's it's like an unstoppable train right now. There's so many games, so many franchises and companies have a loyal fan base that will proliferate all of this kind of stuff. Even if it's not the hugest fan base, there are like a lot of people have significant followings that will just keep the games going with these kinds of transactions, and they'll keep funding these games. Yeah, so it sucks. It's the way the industry is heading to. Clearly, there's almost everyone's doing it now. So
it's fucking crazy, man.
It's inevitable. We have to deal with it. We have to obviously we have to speak upon like the bullshit that they're doing, and we have to call them all these companies out when they do it. But the fans like it.
Yeah. There's a light at the end of this tunnel, though, I want to point out. And I know this is probably the exception to the rule, but let's take Bethesda. I was just walking somebody, and when I got pulled back into Fallout, it was because I had a friend who recently bought it. And so I was showing him all the DLC. I was like, you have your Vault Tech expansion, you have your Contraptions expansion, you have your Wasteland Workshop expansion, you have another settlement expansion, and then I found myself saying the following words. Just like Bethesda generally does these days, they have one expansion that's an expanded storyline that takes place in the map. They have one expansion that is a slight extension or nub that adds additional landmass and stuff to the existing map, and then they have another one that is a story-driven campaign that always takes place on a brand new map, generally about a quarter of the size of the original map. And I realized that's all absolutely true. Bethesda has begun this cycle where they always kind of release the same kind of content. Like, here's a little bit more story, here's a little bit of expansion, now here's a new landmass. And they've added on top of that with 4 new DLCs for the things that people really liked, the building mechanics. And that's important because Bethesda invented horse armor. So I just want to point out that there is at least one story of a company going from being terrible to being slightly better. Now, that comes with the big old asterisk of, they tried the whole paid mods thing. I'm not putting them up on a pedestal.
Tried.
Yeah,
they got away with it, basically. Yeah, they still put it out there just with a different name. We talked about that. We talked about that last week.
Do you pay for mods on Steam now?
Kind of. Like paid mods. They rolled out another version of it.
It's within each of the games. It's called Creation Club.
Which
is a paid mod.
But then they also have free mods next to those. So I'm not really sure. I have not figured out what the difference is, other than Creation Club tends to be officially licensed stuff from like other games.
Yeah. All right. I want to move on here, unless you guys want to say anything else. Carlos, you want to say anything real quick?
One last thing. I hope maybe something that we will get from this is free games, like free to play. I know Heroes of the Storm is a game that has loot boxes and stuff like that, and you can obviously pay to get like new characters and stuff like that. But I mean, I've played over 1,000 hours of the game and I still haven't paid a penny.
There you go, man.
I wouldn't mind that experience.
Well, Brian would say the same. Say the same thing about Warframe. Yeah,
that's right. All right, let's move on. I changed the order around a little bit. So Carlos, just check the updated thing. It's hard for me to send you messages, and I don't have my computer here. Essentially, I have to keep the screen locked. Okay, so Victor Alistine, and I'm throwing this question in here because it's related to what we've been talking about. Do you consider Amiibos similar to loot boxes or microtransactions? Very good question.
Yes.
Yep,
That's
I
exactly
agree.
what they are.
Yeah, they are. They're physical.
They're
DLC.
physical DLC. Well, officially, they're not physical DLC. They are just keys because all that
Yeah.
shit's already in the game.
That's right. That's right. Like,
Yeah,
only-
I don't. I would disagree.
Are you saying that these things are not in the game already?
I'm saying no. That's not what I'm saying. I think it's worse if the only way to unlock something is with an amiibo.
yeah, like Metroid. Like Metroid.
Like with the hard mode in Metroid?
yeah, and
Yeah. But for the most part, they just unlock cosmetic stuff early, and I'm on the fence about that because they're also collectible figures, and I collect collectible figures.
Yeah,
The
but
thing
what
is,
if you
they're
don't want
really
those? What if you don't want? We've talked about this before. What if you don't want those figures, but you want the content that they provide? Understand?
Then
So
you
now
can
you're
go
stuck
second
buying.
hand and buy super cheap chips or cards. There's an entire
Yeah.
cottage industry built around it. You can get them for like
Most people aren't going to do that
50
though,
cents a
man.
piece.
Yeah.
Why? Because you can't Google it and buy something from the internet.
Because no one's heard of it, dude. You know how people are. If it's not in their face, they're not going to go out of their way to get it, man. You
Wait,
can't.
I mean, I haven't heard of it.
That's
Has
what I'm
anybody else
saying.
hasn't heard
I
of
never
it?
heard of this shit until now. You know. So there
Really?
you go. Yeah, never heard of this. And we're experts. I never heard of that shit.
Here's the way that I look at it. Maybe it's just because I look at it from a toy point of view. Like I would expect to pay between $10 and $12 for an amiibo, just the figure, especially if it were licensed from Nintendo. The fact that for a couple bucks more, it has a digital component that does not lock other people out of that same content, but lets me allow it or access it just about whenever I want. All right, I'm more okay with that. I'm not going to say that it's the greatest thing in the world, but I do like the fact that my action figure or my little figure does something, and I do like the fact that it doesn't do something that cuts other people out of the same content. Like I don't want a little figure that gives me exclusive content because that means somebody else doesn't get to play that content. But if it allows me to unlock it early so I can play, through Breath of the Wild, with the original Zelda outfit the first time through instead of the second time through, sure, because the second time through I'm going to choose a different outfit or something like that. I don't necessarily see the harm in your action figure doing something as long as it's something that is already unlockable in the game.
Yeah, except for Metroid, you can't unlock that shit in the game. You
No,
need to
and
buy
I
those-
don't agree with
yeah.
that. I definitely don't agree with the Metroid one. Everything through Amiibo should be able to be unlocked through challenges in game. And that's fine. And then, see, that's the other thing, because that also feeds into my old school mentality of, look, I want challenges in the game, and I want them to reward me with cool cosmetic items. I don't necessarily want to buy a bunch of cosmetic items 90% of the time. And that's not why I don't buy Amiibos for the code. I buy an Amiibo because I think it's cool, and it sits on my shelf, and then I'm like, oh, cool, this game uses this, and this game uses this. And it's nice that they continue expanding upon the old Amiibos, so it's not like you have to continue building new ones. You just have a library, and then they make your little Amiibo collection interact with just about every fucking game under the planet. So there are several reasons why I think it distances itself just slightly from DLC.
Chris,
Mostly,
yeah.
the biggest one, like most DLC isn't something that you can get without buying that DLC.
Yeah, Chris, what do you think, man?
Oh yeah, it's for sure. I mean, it's in both markets, but it is physical DLC. And if you need it to unlock something in the game that can't be unlocked normally, that's just the basic definition of it. So I agree with Manny.
Yeah,
But
I
what about
agree
if it
too.
doesn't unlock something in the game? Like let's take Breath of the Wild. All you do is get items that you can get otherwise in the game. Like, does that count as DLC? It's not unlocking any exclusive content.
But does it?
It's still
but
DLC.
It unlocks stuff in the game. So
Yeah.
what is it? At worst, it's a physical loot crate.
Brett, he asked a question, man. I think Brett cut out. All right.
Okay, sorry, I was on mute. No, a loot crate has a chance to drop something. Like, tell me a DLC in which you buy something that's going to drop in the game anyway.
My issue is you're essentially paying for something that already exists in the game, and you cannot.
But you don't have to.
What if
no,
you
but
want?
If you're talking about if you can't unlock it without the amiibo, I think we're all in definite agreement that's fucked up. I'm
Yeah,
talking
man,
about
there's a
stuff
lot of.
like.
I mean,
Yeah, but
thing
the question is it DLC? Brett, you're like the
But
only one who
most
doesn't think it is.
okay,
It is DLC though.
but you're using this one example as a pattern for the whole, and I'm saying like, yes, Metroid was that way. The almost every other amiibo doesn't unlock something that's not already in the game.
Okay, let me ask you a question though. Let's say a game comes out, right, and it has like horse armor, for example. You could go to the store, the online store, and unlock it. You don't consider that DLC? The horse
Can I
armor is already in the game, right?
can I unlock the horse armor without having to buy the DLC?
In this case, yes. In this case, yes. But the thing is, like, okay, the horse armor's in the game. You could actually play the game and unlock it yourself, but you could also use the code to unlock it right now. You don't consider that DLC, even though you're downloading a code.
In that instance, I suppose I would, but the question then becomes, what if I get something else with it? What if I buy a special, Skyrim sculpt that comes with this horse armor that already comes in the game? Like, now I feel like you're adding a digital bonus to a physical thing. And I realize that's a little bit of mental gymnastics. But again, this is all predicated on the idea that I'm okay with most of this stuff as long as you can get it otherwise. I would consider it a DLC if the only way to get this horse armor was to buy this physical thing. I have a problem with them locking digital content behind a paywall. That is my only problem. And that manifests itself 90% of the time in DLC, but I don't necessarily have a problem with you being able to unlock the same game content as me by paying for it. I don't really have an issue. I just don't like you locking content behind a paywall, specifically when that content is already in the game. But none of this applies to an amiibo because I don't have to buy the amiibo to get this game content. Nothing's locked away from me. All I get is a bonus. I get to unlock it without having to do a thing because I bought this collectible. And oh, by the way, I had this thing.
But you can't normally play Wolf Link.
What's that?
You can normally we'll just use the Wolf Link example from Twilight Princess. The amiibo from Twilight Princess is the only way to unlock Wolf Link within Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, and I've got issue with that.
You can't get it any other way. To be honest, you're essentially being asked to pay for something that is already in the game.
Lunar in the chat saying that Epona was locked behind an amiibo. I don't know if that's
shit!
true.
Yeah, with the Epona, with a link on the Epona from
That's right.
another game. So
yeah, so I'm not okay with those, and I will go on record and saying like, yeah, like it's if you want to know where I stand on the opinion, it's not as simple as what an amiibo or DLC. It's look, don't lock content behind a paywall. Period. I'm not happy when you do. I'm fine when you don't. It's as simple as that. There's so much gray area here that I can't say. I haven't bought any of the amiibos that, like, I haven't bought the Epona one, and no, you're right, that's the only way. But again, I'm like, I could just get a same colored horse and name it Epona, and it's really not any different.
But it's not Epona. Let's go away.
Yeah.
I know, and that's not stuff I'm great with, but I maybe it's just the fact that I like having the amiibos do something. I would stop buying amiibos if they stopped doing something digitally.
I mean,
Really?
here's the thing. The thing about them is that is interesting about them. They are fun little toys, little nostalgic toys with, that you can buy. I don't own a Nintendo console, but I do own a bunch of silly amiibos.
Yeah, I think, just buying them physically, like just the physical features of the amiibos is fine. Like, I don't know why you can't just do that. Like,
and just have them not do anything. I mean,
Yeah.
they sell those. Nintendo sells action figures that aren't amiibos. They're next to the amiibos in the store.
yeah, but essentially, people buy amiibos because it's something they can show off in their rooms, like, or in their setups, their desks, or whatever. Like, it's just a collector's item. So by putting DLC on them, it's like, even if you can unlock it, it's like,
Yeah.
really, is that what?
All right, man. I want to move on already. Next question, also from Victor. This is an interesting one, a little bit more of a technical one. He goes, I don't know if you talked about this already, but how long do you think it would take to develop a game like Cuphead with a big staff? Also, would Cuphead visuals be possible in 3D? I want to answer the last part first because yes, look at any the latest Guilty Gear games. You could totally make that shit work in 3D.
For with a bigger staff,
with a bigger staff, yeah, man. Because think about it, you have a bigger staff, more guys to animate stuff. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, you
about,
have obviously with a bigger staff, you would have that. But I mean, the thing is that, have you ever looked at the credits to Cuphead? There are a lot of animators in those credits.
Yeah.
Like if there was a bigger, I mean, yeah, if they had a fucking like 2 Disney-sized studios, yeah, fuck yeah, they could get that game done quick. But but the thing is that you got to understand it that all these Cuphead was animated in like 1s and 2s. That's like 1 frame of animation, is a shitload of drawings. That's why it looks so smooth. So I mean, and there's a bunch of different parts, and who's to say that Cuphead didn't change gears at some point? A lot of I remember the game being pushed out as a boss rush mode originally.
Yeah, well, that's why the game took so long because they kept adding stuff to it.
Yeah. So the thing is, one thing you got to remember about video games, and this is, these design choices aren't always set in stone. A lot of times, sometimes, most of the time, the game that the developers had in mind in the beginning and the game that they eventually come out with are totally different things.
Also, you reach a point of diminishing returns when adding employees.
Yeah.
And this is something that's actually really well documented in the corporate world. There is a bell curve because when you start adding people, you have to train those people before you can get adequate amount of work out of them. So when you start hiring so many people that you're spending more time training people than producing, you actually start to roll backward on your productivity. Also,
the thing is the thing is that we're also talking about animators, and you don't need to train an animator to animate unless you're hiring kids from college. So I mean, a lot of animators already know what they need to do. They just need the how many frames that they need, or how many seconds of animation, and they'll do it.
You can show up on day 1 of a project that you've never seen before, and you just start animating without a chance to go over.
Well, the thing is that
art or anything like that.
Well, no, I mean the thing is that it's the way it usually works. Is if you're given a character sheet, and you're told, okay, this is what we're going to be doing. There's not a lot of preparation that needs to go into animation. It's not like they're designing characters on the spot. The only thing that would need to happen is that all the animation after an initial rough animation goes through, let's say okay, I'm going to make the character jump, right? Okay, maybe they would do a rough animation and be like, okay, this is what I wanted to do. Maybe that needs a little bit more tweaking.
Yeah,
but in general, for animation, you just need to, just need the character designs. You need these certain things, and that's it.
Well, I'm talking about if you went on to The Simpsons, there is a specific mathematical proportions that you do and a way that they draw each of the characters that gets.
Well, if you notice, there's minuscule differences between what a certain artist draws, even within scenes of The Simpsons. The one thing about it is that they're so small, but sometimes there's those situations, hey, Homer's a little bit taller than he usually is. It happens. And the one thing about that Cuphead's animation style allows for is the fact that they can be a little bit gooey and stretchy and a little bit off model, because that's just the way that sort of 1930s, 20s animation style works.
Yeah, they even said they purposely made some of the frames in between frames kind of gooey and crazy like that to make it look more authentic.
Yeah, a lot. I mean, I definitely think a lot of Cuphead was also not in-house guys. I happen to know quite a bit of people that worked on the game Cuphead, and they were working as freelancers. On specific, they hired them to do cleanup, or they hired them to do key animation, stuff like that.
Well, one thing to take into account is if the bigger the development studio, you'd also have to animate and hand draw all the loot box animations.
No shit, that's right. All right, I'm gonna move on because we still got
Hold on.
yeah, because we still
Before
got a
we
lot
go,
of questions here. So go ahead.
I'm just stating I'm citing something called Brooks Law, which is an observation about software project management, according to which adding human resources to a late project makes it later.
That's
So
probably
feel
what
free
happened
to
with
look that up.
Cuphead. Cuphead was supposed to come out 2 years ago. That's probably what happened with Cuphead.
Well,
You know?
that's only if the number of requirements increases as well.
Yeah, well, remember, Cuphead was only rush mode originally. Then they started
Yep.
adding more shit. So
Yep.
yeah, there you go. There's the law in effect.
Well,
You know?
and the
what
thing
it's
is that
actually saying.
What
we're also
happened?
talking
Yeah.
about physical artwork that's being created for it.
Yeah, this isn't digital shit. Yeah.
Backgrounds need to be painted. I mean, granted, they said they used a little bit of 3D here and there, but still it needs man hours. You need a bunch of animators to sit down there and draw it. There's no, tweening or any of that sort of shit that's happening in there. You also need people to paint backgrounds. You need all these sorts of things.
Yeah.
They're almost making the equivalent of an animated film, a full-on animated film, but as a video game.
Yeah.
But it sounds like you're saying that adding more people would reduce the amount of time.
I think that's what
I think it would reduce the amount of time to clear out as many animations as possible. As far as developing the game, which is creating levels and all of those other things, that is a different sort of story.
Yeah. Because the guy's trying to imply that if they had a bigger crew, you could probably get the game faster. Maybe, but if you're adding more shit, it's going to take a longer time. You know?
I mean, you obviously need more programming. You need more programming in these sorts of things, and then also within the actual level design, that is also a big can of worms. Because who's to say? Okay, let's say you design those levels, right? Who's to say what type of technique that they're doing to get these kind of hand painted levels to work? Is there a, are they using some sort of tiling system? And then is it easy to edit these sorts of things? There's all these questions that we have about the development that could have made it take even longer. If they were in boss rush mode, right? Okay, so that means that they only need to worry about one background. Okay, now they decided to add, platforming levels. Okay, so now that means that those backgrounds need to be painted. That means that all new enemies need to be animated. So not only
stuff aside from that though, even not breaking into the complexities of adding stuff, like there is a efficiency workflow chart that has been proven that adding people to a project, you get diminishing returns that at a certain point overlap backwards onto decreased productivity. And it has to do with something called the ramp up, where most people have to be trained or familiar to become at least slightly familiar with the workflow and expectations of their job. And then you have increasing communication overheads with the amount of people that you have on the project. More hands in the pot, the more of a game of telephone it becomes, and the longer it takes to get a message from point A to point B. And you pair with the limited divisibility of tasks, which mean that basically after a certain point, you have people down to a micro task, and they start getting in each other's way because they're not producing an effective workflow because you divided the tasks down so much.
It all depends on who you're contracting or who you're getting into these projects. For example, I work with software, and sometimes what happens with projects that are due in pretty close amount of time, and the project is nowhere near being complete, they get a lot of people from other sections of the business where they get them into the project to have more people working on it. If you can assign people tasks that don't require such tech hits for them, then it's manageable. It's kind of like the concept of a GPU that it's like it does a lot of simultaneous tasks, but they're not CPU intensive. It's like if you can get people doing simple tasks or something, or getting people, it's like, oh, can you animate this, or can you hand draw these frames for this particular scene, and these animators know what the fuck they're doing, then it should reduce time more than anything.
I mean, working at Titmouse Animation, where a lot of times we would have situations where we had multiple studios over, one in Canada, two in the United States, one in Asia, and we could easily or easily extend our extend it to the different studios to make up for the for the extra time. And it also helped it because obviously, but with this with animation, you can do those sorts of things. You can assign these sorts of things because they know a lot of the way these things are designed. I mean, not with the Cuphead involved, but a lot of them, the way they're designed is that they're able to have people jump in and jump out and still keep the consistency high. And I feel like with Cuphead, I think a lot of that did happen, but I also think that adding levels and extending the game also extended the development time. And remember, they are still a independent studio.
Yeah. All right, let's move on here, man. We're up to another new name here, 502 the Villain. He goes, "What's good, Throwdown? I love the show and enjoy your content."
Thank you.
Very cool. All right, so his first question, he goes, "I was wondering, this is something we've talked about before too. I was wondering if Phil Spencer's promotion to head of Xbox games from head of Xbox, do y'all think this is a sign Microsoft is moving towards focusing on mainly PC? It doesn't help that his former position hasn't been replaced yet." Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it a bunch of times.
We kind of talked about this before, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's happening. I think they're merging all of it together. But at the same time, now that Phil is in charge of all that, I doubt he's gonna let like the Xbox thing be completely like absorbed by Windows PC. You know what I'm saying?
I think in general, Windows PC and Xbox in general are moving toward the same thing.
Yeah. It's all one unified thing. Yeah.
Windows games and Xbox are not two separate things. They are one and the same. And that is why Phil Spencer is the head of it. He is the head of the games division.
Yes.
Not just the Xbox part or just the PC part. Both of them together. Because they're looking for a unified system where no matter where you're playing, as if it's your Xbox 360, Xbox One, or your Windows PC, it will be on both of them, and that's purely what they've been working toward, at least for this generation.
To add to what you're saying, I think his former position, will not be filled because it's kind of redundant at this point.
It is because he is both. They don't see them as separate things, and to be honest, it's actually a very smart move.
Yeah.
For Microsoft to combine them, because it doesn't make any sense why you're able to have a game on an Xbox or have a game on a PC and not have them be on each other.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think we need to go much more into this. We've done it before. The next question here is, have any of y'all ever picked up a sequel that you enjoyed, that you ended up loving, to a game that you didn't like? He goes, "For me, Spider-Man 2, the movie, and Nier Automata come to mind. The first Spider-Man was okay at best, and Nier had a great story and music, but the gameplay was weak and repetitive." So it's basically like you liked part 2, but you didn't exactly like part 1, I'm going to jump in on this. I'm going to go with Nier Automata 2. I didn't play the first Nier, but I did play Drakengard 3, which is made by the same guy. I hated Drakengard 3. The game was fucking trash to me. And, because when they announced Nier Automata, I'm like, it's by that same guy? I'm not buying this shit. But then Manny was telling like, yo, this is actually a good game. Platinum Games work. I'm like, okay, I'll try it out. And the game was dope, but I definitely didn't like the original for sure. But that's the only one I can think of right now. What about you?
I think in general with Nier, it was a situation where it was a team that was not able to, not equipped to handle the type of game that he was trying to create. I think that's what it was.
The original Nier, right?
I think the original Nier, I think also with Drakengard too, the Drakengard games. I think if he had a guys like the Platinum Games guys developing the actual physical fighting engine and all the different modes, I think those games would have been received a little bit better than they were.
Yeah, I think you might be onto something, because if Drakengard played like Nier Automata, I probably would have liked it more, because structurally they're not that different games, the same thing with Drakengard. Like, you beat the game once, that's not the real ending. You got to play that shit a couple of times,
I think if that'd be hilarious if they did a remake of all those old Yoko Taro games and then just use the Nier engine inside of them.
All right, but anyway, man, what about you? Was there a sequel to a game? Like you didn't like the first one, but you actually liked the sequel a lot.
A sequel, I never played. I didn't like the sequel. I mean, usually when I buy, I'm not into the first game. I usually don't go in and buy the second game.
I'll give the easiest answer.
Go ahead.
Assassin's Creed 2.
Oh shit.
Oh, yeah, you're
that's
right.
a good
You're
one.
right.
Here's the thing, though. I didn't dislike Assassin's Creed. I just felt it could have been better, But that is a good one because Assassin's Creed 2 blew the first one fucking away.
Yep.
You know,
By leaps and bounds, man.
for sure, man.
Like from the character development side to the the actual controls. They got rid of those stupid friggin' flag roof missions.
Yeah, exactly. And like each assassination was different. It wasn't just the same exact shit. Also, even though I did like the first game too, Mass Effect 2, because Mass Effect 1, I had a problem with the combat. I thought the combat in that game was trash, and the management system was fucking horrible. All that was fixed with part 2. Yeah, oh my god. But the thing is, I like the story of Mass Effect 1 more. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the inventory was clunky as shit.
Oh my
man.
god. Anyway, Chris, man, you have any games that fit this criteria, man?
Yeah, Grand Theft Auto 3.
Oh, Grand Theft Auto, the first two Grand Theft Auto games.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they were really primitive, especially London 1969.
Oh, yeah. I never played them, but yeah, I stayed away from those two games. Like, what is this shit?
That changed it. My mind was blown.
Yeah, right. Brett, what about you, man?
I just been listening to you guys talk. I forgot the actual question at this point.
Okay, was there a sequel to a game that you really loved, but you didn't like the first game in the series?
I was a little bit disappointed with Legacy of Kain, the second one.
Yeah, but but Brett, you're getting it reversed. Okay, basically, it's like, okay, the first game in this, okay, like for example, this guy gave Spider-Man example. He didn't like the first Spider-Man movie game, but he thought the second Spider-Man movie game was amazing, right?
Oh, damn. No, I can't really think of anything that's gotten. I know that there are things.
Yeah.
But I can't think of anything that's gotten infinitely better in its second iteration.
Ooh, Saints Row 2. Who said that? Brian Stelbart. That's a great answer. Yeah, Uncharted 2. Yeah, that was better. But I like the first Uncharted. Yeah, but I like the Uncharted one. Yeah.
Like most of those games, like there are games that like were good and then they got better. Portal is a good example of that franchise, but like I still loved the first game. Even though it blew it out of the water.
Yeah. Oh, how could I forget? Carlos, you too, man. Destiny 2.
That's a good point.
You too, Brett. That's right.
Some people would very much disagree with that, though.
Yeah, well, not in this show.
Yeah. Yo, man, that first game, man, it was pretty bad.
Yeah, let's just be honest. Let's just be honest now.
I've been surprised.
Story.
Yeah.
I've been surprised that I've been enjoying the second one. Like, I'm still playing this motherfucker sometimes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So see, that's three of us. If Adam was here, he'd be on board too. It's like, yep. Destiny 2. That's a great example.
Red Dead, the latest Red Dead was a huge upgrade from the previous one, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Red
for
Dead
sure.
Redemption.
From Red Dead Revolver to Red Dead Redemption. Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Because people forget that's a sequel.
Yeah, right. All right, man. Let's move on here to Mr. Joel Torres. So his first question is a pretty funny one. What are your thoughts on the Wii? Was it a good idea or a double-edged sword that ruined Nintendo home consoles? Chris, I'm gonna jump to you because you worked at Nintendo during that era.
I mean, all right, the Wii simultaneously was a tremendous success and ruined everything after it.
Yeah.
It was like, I don't know, it's like the guy who comes to a party and brings like a case of tequila and you're like, you're the fucking man. And then at the end of the night, you regret drinking all that tequila and there's vomit all over your apartment and windows are smashed and you don't know what happened. And that's the Wii U. That's the hangover the next day. So with the Wii, Nintendo skewed away from core gaming, like altogether. Like it went motion controls or whatever, and everybody caught on. It was a fad, right? Everybody
Yeah.
was like, "Oh, I never played anything like this before." Swinging my arms around. So they got into it, and it started something, but it was something that was unsustainable, right? That's something that burned out real fast, just like Guitar Hero and everything else. All those things where interactive stuff just died, and so Nintendo has kind of stuck to that a little bit with the Switch. That kind of pulled it back, but with Wii U, they doubled down on it, and that's where that went wrong, like entirely wrong. So at the same time, while it did well for them, and you can't say the Wii wasn't a success. I mean, it's one of the highest selling systems of all time, but didn't beat PS2, and that says something about catering to core gaming, just having a system that it plays games really well, does what it needs to do very well, right? And Nintendo could have had that. The GameCube could have been that system, but then they had to get stupid with mini disc or whatever
Oh
they used.
God, yeah, with that bullshit.
Yeah, so they always like shoot themselves in the foot in some way with some system. The Wii shot them in the like both feet, because while it was a success, everything that carried on after it, they didn't know what direction to go, so they kept going. Motion controls were dead by that point. So with the Wii U, like the Wii U suffered from the legacy of the Wii, which it was like just in its shadow.
Yeah.
I mean, I know why you would say. I know it was a commercial success, but I hesitate to call the Wii a success. It's kind of like herpes. It spreads like wildfire, but nobody wants it.
Oh shit.
But like I said, the system itself was a success, right? But like it had a couple problems after it. Nintendo was already on to the next thing 2 years before Skyward Sword even launched. Like if you notice, like the marketing for the Wii died down. It was all focused on DS, and then Skyward Sword, which I believe that was a mistake to launch on the Wii. It should have launched on the Wii U. It should have been like Breath of the Wild is now. It should have been a transitional game. But I don't know why they launched it on the Wii at the end of its life, the very end. And a lot of people bought the Wii and was perfectly satisfied with Wii Sports, and they'd buy another thing after that.
And that's also what killed a lot of the third party support. It's like, okay, these people yes, the consoles are doing incredibly well, but nobody's buying the games because they're all just playing the Wii Sports.
Yeah,
that's
the game that came with it.
Crowd. And that's what the difference that I'm making. Like, yes, it was a commercial success, but it wasn't necessarily a critical success because they alienated almost their entire fan base in lieu of a larger fan base that didn't continue to buy games. Like they weren't.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say, I know so many people that had, myself included, that had such a sour taste in their mouth over the Wii that even like a third of the way into its life cycle, we had all washed our hands of Nintendo as a company, being like, well, they clearly don't want us in their wheelhouse, and so we just fucking set off like refugees. And that extended well. I think that's a good reason why the Wii U sold so terribly, is so many people had such a bitter distaste in their mouth from the Wii that they didn't want to invest in Nintendo. And so I would say, yeah, you sold a lot of units, but if you sell a lot of units of something that people hate so much that they refuse to invest in your brand years later, I don't know if I would call that a hands down success. I feel like there needs to be an asterisk after that, because they paid the price. You just fetch a really high price when you sell your soul, is all that it boils down to.
Well, in this conversation internally, I'm sure I said this on the show before, where I talked with corporate communications, and I reiterated those very concerns Brett just mentioned. I reiterated in those meetings, and that since this is this is why I have a complete distaste for Blue Ocean. Like, because we're running this strategy, we're going to expand the gaming market, and we're going to release evergreen titles, and we're going to have all these new people coming into the gaming, right? What happened? Completely fell off. They don't care after Wii Sports and Wii Fit. They didn't care. So they expanded a market into people who were just dipping their toe in and left, and they let the core gamer just walk away. They're just like, we don't need you guys. We got grandmas now. and then they tried to have their cake and eat it too at the Wii U, which is a huge mistake. That they doubled down on the motion controls. They had this weird pad that didn't do any of the things that it should have done. Like the promise of the Switch was in this thing, and it kind of was like, psych, it doesn't do any of that. And at the same time putting out core games at their launch. They had a port of Mass Effect 3, they had Arkham City, they had all this stuff, right? So they were trying to have their cake and eat it too, and the cake fell on the floor and everybody left the party.
Oh shit. Do we have any other? I don't really. I didn't own a Wii. Nintendo. I left that train after the Super Nintendo, so I didn't fuck around with the Wii. I'm like, what is this shit? Like the Wii was like the antithesis of everything we were taught when we were kids. Like you would see your parents like playing games like that. Like, look at this shit. It's like, no, you stand still when you play games. Hourglass 23. Thank you for following us. Appreciate that. But yeah, it's like when you play games, you're supposed to be composed and shit, and the Wii's asking you to abandon all that and go. It's like, come on, get the fuck out of here.
You would still when you played video games?
Yeah, that was like I remember me and my boys were like, it's like when you play games and then you kind of start doing shit like that. What are you doing? What are you doing? Are you an old man playing games? Like we make fun of each other.
True. Yo, when I first played Need for Speed, I started leaning into the turns, and my friend's like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
Yeah, you'd be like, "What the fuck?" Yeah, exactly. What the fuck is wrong with you?
me and all my friends did that, and it was just kind of one of those things that we all figured that you did. Like, man, you ever notice how like when you're playing a racing game, how you're starting to like lean into the turns? Like, yeah, man, I do that too. That's weird.
I catch myself because it's weird. I'm like, no, I'm just sitting in my living room. I'm not in a car. Why the fuck am I leaving?
Me and my friends, like beat that out of our systems. It's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? What the fuck are you doing? You're an old man.
What you moving for?
Yeah, exactly.
Shout out to the Wii also, and one of the worst gaming experience. Whenever you played Mario Kart using that wheel thing that you connected your Wiimote to.
Oh, the Wii wheel. The Wii wheels.
Wii wheel.
That's what it's called.
Yo, man, that was horrible, man. No one wanted to use that thing, at least in my household.
Oh man.
But going back to the Wii real quick. The Nintendo should have known that the Wii and its Blue Ocean wouldn't succeed with the mainstream when the mainstream was figuring out that they couldn't lose weight using Wii Fit.
They were all in on that biometric stuff. Remember the last year of the Wii, that E3, when Iwata came out and talked about quality of life products?
Yeah, whatever happened to that shit? Remember you used a thing in your finger?
Yeah, exactly. That all died. But they were all in on that. They were trying to retain, like I said, they have the cake in too. They were trying to retain that Blue Ocean audience, which was like, that wasn't like, those weren't gamers, right? They were just
vitality sensor, right?
The vitality sensor. Yeah, they enticed people that were not gamers and were fair weather and were going to leave after they played whatever they liked. They liked to play Wii Sports Golf, and that's it. You weren't going to get them to buy anything else. You're not going to get them to play a Zelda game, right? They're like, I'm playing golf now.
Yeah, that's all they care about. All right, let's move.
Do you guys remember the dark days of Wii bowling being literally everywhere you went?
Oh, yeah.
Like, you go to a friend's house, like, what are you guys doing? Wii bowling? God damn it.
The guys in the chat right now are talking about that fucking game.
The games that I played the most on there was, I fully 100%ed Mario Galaxy, and
Me too.
Zack and Wiki, and what's that game? I didn't finish Twilight Princess.
You had Smash Brothers too, because Snake was in that one.
I had Smash Brothers.
Okay.
Yeah, Smash Brothers or whatever it's called. All right. Next question here, still about Nintendo. This is a very good question. Why can't Nintendo just sell the mini NES and the mini SNES and make it available for everyone at their stores? You know why? Because it would make too much sense. That's why.
At their stores where?
Well, like the Nintendo store. Yeah.
Wait, Nintendo? Yeah, like Nintendo store. There's only one store.
Yeah. Well, why not sell it there?
That'd be even worse.
Than not getting it anywhere.
Listen, number one, if you have it all at one store, it'll be even worse.
How?
Oh, well, because then everybody who's not near that store can't get it.
No,
everybody not near the store can get it,
but
and then the store will get instantly mobbed by people who want to get the fucking thing. It'll be the worst fucking thing ever.
Yeah, but this is the way I'm seeing it. Let me explain myself, and then this is the way I'm seeing it. Okay, it's better to have it at least, and even if it's one store somewhere in the world, than not having it at all. You know what I mean? That's where I'm coming at it from. But of course, you would have to make assurances like, listen, we're only gonna have 10 this week. Don't be fucking mobbing this place.
People are gonna listen to that shit.
Yeah,
come on, dude.
I think people have the wrong idea. Okay, we've expressed that Nintendo doesn't have an infinitely deep coffer in which to just draw an endless fortune from. Now, on that same note, a lot of people are probably under the misconception that Nintendo has this gigantic manufacturing facility, this huge complex that just pumps out Nintendos all day long. Like, they have manufacturing. They have deals with other people who produce parts for them. This is not a distribution issue. Yeah. This is a manufacturing issue. And one of the things to the people out there who you want to keep in mind, it is a question of efficiency. It is kind of like developing a game. If you own a manufacturing facility or you are renting a manufacturing facility, you are paying for that whether or not it is producing units. So you want to go as slim on your margins as possible and have and only produce as much as you have materials, and they're having a shortage of materials, and probably Nintendo doesn't want to go out and buy a whole new manufacturing facility to produce this Super Nintendo Mini, which in a year isn't going to be selling as much as it is, but they're still going to be in the hole for buying this distribution or renting this place, setting up the machinery. I mean, for Christ's sake, look at how it's made. Assembly lines are incredibly complicated machines that are hand put together 90% of the time. They don't just come in modular bits where you can just print stuff. You actually have to build a machine to build these things. And so they would end up paying a lot of money and have to do a lot of reorganization to up their manufacturing. It's not just an issue of turning a crank to fast and having them produce more. You have issues of supplies, you have issues of manpower, you have issues of manufacturing facilities, and most likely they're using the same facilities that are producing their Switches to produce their Super Nintendo Minis. They're just, when they run out of materials to build new Switches, they probably shift that workforce onto building the Super Nintendo Minis. In fact, that's probably a big reason why we're seeing these things, is because they can't have the materials to continuously produce the Switches that they need, thus the Switch shortages. So what do? They try and cut their losses and fill up that manufacturing time with something that doesn't require such rare resources. But when they get the things that they need to make the Switch back in stock, they start making the Switch again. And the only way to get around this is dramatically oversimplified, is to buy another factory and hire a whole bunch of other people. And you have to keep that factory going 100% of the time, and those people working 100% of the time, or it's not really worth the cost investment. So it's not just an issue of, oh, sure, well, they're just not making it because they don't feel like fucking with it. No, they don't feel like fucking with all of the headaches that come with creating a new manufacturing and distribution network, even if they already have one foot in that. It's just unrealistic. It'd be great, but it would probably end up costing them more money and being more of a problem than it would make them money. It's not like it's just a button to print free fucking money. Half the reason these things sell like they do is because of the exclusivity too. So they be cut themselves off at the knee, coming and going.
Yeah,
I'm not saying it's a good thing, and I'm not saying it's a perfect world. I'm just saying these are the consequences of manufacturing in the real world.
Yeah, there's probably not enough of demand to keep them going like that anyway. I know people want them and shit, but it's going to be limited regardless,
I mean, the thing is that people only want them because they're rare. If you think about it, if everybody was able to get one, right?
Yeah.
I think that's they're using their same old technique. Keep the supply low and the demand high.
Yeah, for sure.
It's as Chris might say, it's not an evergreen product. It's not something that's going to sell and sell and sell and sell and sell. It'll sell until people get it, and it'll stop selling. So what do you do with all this manufacturing infrastructure that you've now built up just to accommodate this? Do you turn it towards more Switches? Well, you're not able to get the fucking supplies to buy more Switches, so then you just be sitting on two factories that aren't producing. It's the logistics of it just don't make sense. I mean, somebody correct me if I'm wrong here, but if you do the math on it, it doesn't seem to make sense, and it doesn't seem to be profitable. We want it, but it just doesn't seem to be a profitable idea.
Yeah.
No, you're right.
No,
You're right
yeah, yeah.
about that.
I agree. All right, let's move on because we still got a couple questions here, and I'm not trying to have this show going all night. All right, my man, All Day Digital. So his first question is, "What is your This is a fun one. What is your gaming ritual leading up to your most anticipated video game? For me, before I jump on a game, the whole house has to be cleaned and pizza must be ordered." Funny, I don't have any gaming rituals. I buy the game, I play it. That's it. I don't have any.
Yeah, that's
Crazy.
weird. That's like it sounds like a ritual for like the Super Bowl or
Yeah, that's what
something.
I'm
Like you
saying.
get
You know.
food, you get a big hero, you invite your boys over, you get beer. That I can think of, but yeah, no, I'm like Tony. I just buy the game, I rip it open, like yo, let's play this. Like
That's it.
simple.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
I
have any
mean,
rituals.
the only gaming ritual that I used to have is, because the game store was always far from my house and I didn't own a car, going to the store and then opening opening the game on the bus and reading the manual, which now there are no manuals.
Wait,
Yeah.
Manny, you forgot one step. Did you smell the case?
No, don't smell that.
Oh,
What?
you always smell the case. Am I the only
Yes,
one?
if you
No,
want to look like a fucking weirdo on public transportation, yes.
I don't care.
I just look. I pull out the book and I read all the different things. If there's a story or any of the control stuff, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool.
Hey, Brett, did you see my unboxing of the Sonic Collector's Edition? I spent like a third of it just smelling the box.
Right?
I was like, guys, stop, hold on. I can't unbox right now. I need to sniff this thing.
It's a weird cathartic thing, just like, oh, that video game smell. Like,
Yeah,
oh god,
it's-
especially a console. I have never unwrapped a console without spending like a full minute and a half just sniffing it.
I am guilty of that as
Yo,
well.
we got 4 dudes in here just hard right now, son. But yeah, no rituals. Not really. Even back in the day, man, when we used to buy games together, no ritual. We buy the game and we play this shit. That's it.
Yeah. The only thing was just opening it up on the bus, opening it up on the bus,
looking at reading the
on the way
manual,
home, and
getting
looking
to
at the
learn.
manual. But yeah,
Oh, no,
now
I
there's
gotta
no
check
manual,
this.
and now there's no buses
Yeah,
involved.
reading the
So-
manual was your tutorial, on the bus. That was the tutorial. Games didn't have tutorials back in the day. You had to read the shit and then play it,
I always found tutorials kind of redundant. It's like, dude, just read the fucking manual and you know how to goddamn play the game.
Yeah, but now they're that's redundant because they're now tutorials are necessary because they don't give you shit.
Hey man, sometimes tutorials can be really hard, like the Cuphead one.
Oh. Anyway, Carlos, man, you got any rituals, man? You don't like I don't know.
Doritos and Mountain Dew?
Doritos and Mountain Dew, bro.
Nah, I don't have any rituals.
What about you, Brett?
Yeah, I guess I'm the only one.
Of course, I knew you were going to be the only one. I love
I
how,
always think I'm missing out.
by the way, this is always typical Throwdown, right? It's like everybody has the same answer, but Brett.
And I have a different answer.
Yeah.
I mean, there's the checklist of things that you need to do, right? Like I need to let the dog out before I go because I don't want her bother me with my video game. Usually I have, a snack, a Red Bull, and a full bowl. And those are the things that I need to start and progress a game. And that's kind of the way that I like it, because usually when I crack into a video game because of my workflow, it is at the very tail end of the night or the very early bit of the morning. So I was taught very young growing up, like you work and then you play. So by the time I'm ready to actually play a video game, it's usually like on a midnight release or 2 a.m, where I've got like, okay, here's 2 to 2.5 hours of nothing but this game time. So I'll sit down, I'll blaze up a bowl, I'll crack open my Red Bull, and I will just kind of let myself get lost until, and I'll set an alarm, and then my alarm will go off and be like, okay, 20 minutes to start wrap it up, off to bed. So yeah, usually it's have your smoke, have your food, have your drink, have an alarm set so that you don't have to constantly be checking the time and you can just let yourself get completely immersed, and then I drop into it. And that's really, honestly, it's not my every time gaming ritual, but when I first start a game, like I'm a big believer in self-generated hype. So like I want to get myself as excited about the game. I want to give it the benefit of the doubt. I want to try and fall into it. So I usually kind of reserve a couple of quiet alone hours where I'm not going to be distracted. Nothing's going to bother me. I don't have to get up and get anything or do anything. And I can kind of just sit back and relax and let myself fall into it.
Is that considered a ritual? Because if that's the case, then I do. Because when I get a new game, I don't play it until night. I'm like, listen, this is the first time I'm playing this game. I'm going to be interrupted during the day. I'm going to wait till night. And then obviously after that, I'll play whenever. But first time playing the game, I have to play it at night because bullshit happens. So I guess I have a ritual.
Of course it does. I mean, you think of a tea ritual, right? A tea ritual is just doing things in a certain order and having things set up in a certain place. So like my ritual is, I'm pretty sure everybody here knows I smoke weed, and if not, spoiler. So like I like to set up.
What? Wait, what?
Yeah, I know. If you couldn't fucking tell, totally. So like I like to have my phone in front of me. I like to have a Red Bull in front of me, and I like to have everything kind of just a little cornucopia just spread across my coffee table. Like, here's my TV remote, here's my controller remote, here's my extra charge controller, here's my Red Bull, here's my bowl, here's my little bag of peanut butter M&Ms or whatever they have. Like, everything in its place so that you can kind of like sit down and be like, all right, I am prepared. It's almost like you lay out a field kit in front of yourself on your little coffee table and you're like, all right, ready to do this. And I view that as very much an analog to a tea ritual. Whereas you just kind of, you do things in an order and you set them in a place and then you're ready to do the following actions. So I don't think it has to be like a sports ritual. I don't think it has to be superstitious or anything like that. Like, you have to spin around 3 times and flicker all the lights or anything like that. I think it's just whatever that thing that you always find yourself doing before you crack open a new game.
Yeah. All right. By the way, there's a very interesting conversation going on in the chat about musicians and shit. Apparently 2 of the guys in there, Matthew and Chris Cobra, were in different metal bands. Ain't that something? So that's pretty cool. Manny used to play drums.
Small world.
I used to play the drums.
What else? They were like, hey, we should make our own hardcore band called Throwdown. I'm like, that already exists, bro.
Yep, that band already exists. And Phil Anselmo's the lead singer of it.
Of Throwdown? What? Since when?
Isn't he the lead singer of Throwdown?
No. He's in some other Super Joint Ritual or whatever. But Throwdown is a hardcore band. This is what I told the guys in the chat. Not to get too off topic, but basically, okay, our band was called Metal Beast, right? But we weren't very good, So we were trying to be a metal band. We weren't that good, so we were just a hardcore band instead. All right. Next question by my man All Day Digital, who's joining us in the chat right now. The last question is, how do you guys feel? Okay, yeah, how do you guys feel about the whole skip a boss? Actually, by the way, guys, let me finish the question first, because there's a correction.
Okay,
I'll kill you. Right? How do you guys feel about the whole skip a boss thing in Assassin's Creed Origins? It's ridiculous, and I think it can start a nasty trend that we definitely don't need. Okay, correction. That's not in Assassin's Creed. He's referring to an article, because basically Assassin's Creed is going to have this mode. It's called like education mode or whatever, where you don't have to engage in any like combat or anything. You just go around the world and explore things at your own leisure, learning about ancient Egyptian history. So I forgot the name of the site, but basically the site, I think it was Rock, Paper, Shotgun. They said, hey, why don't they go to the next logical step? Let's skip boss battles. And the guy talked about how he hates boss battles in games and he wants a skip boss battle mode. So, just to correct it, this is not an official mode in Assassin's Creed Origins. This is just what this guy wants in his game, right? And he was talking about like, hey, you could skip ahead in the book. Why can't you skip ahead in the video game? All this other, yeah, Brett, I said, let me finish. I know.
I'm trying.
So yeah, there's no skip boss thing. Go ahead, Brett, unleash the beast.
He fucking said it! He fucking said it right there! Alright, asshole, if you care so much, go read a fucking book! A video game is an interactive experience that has, from its very inception, required you to bypass certain challenges to access additional content. That's like saying, like, why do we put books in a binder? Because that's the nature of a fucking book, you retard! If you want a non-interactive entertainment, there's movies, there's TV, there's comic books. Like you fucking said yourself, there's a fucking book. Go do one of those other things instead of shitting in my cornflakes.
or how about this one? It's like, I wish you could rewind the movie in fast forward a movie in the movie theater. Why?
Rent a DVD.
Again, why would you want to do that?
Your problem, everybelly else's problem. That's all that you're doing. You were saying, I don't want to admit that I am the outlier or possibly wrong, so I want everybody else to have to subscribe to the same fucking standards as me so that I don't have to feel bad about my own inadequacies. You know what? You should feel bad. If you can't get paid and skip a boss, you should feel bad. I'm sorry. Maybe you're bad at video games. Maybe you just don't fucking deserve your job. And I'm not jumping on the bandwagon of like everybody who's not great at video games doesn't deserve their job. But you should be able to beat a fucking boss. And you know what? If you're not enjoying it, you're not enjoying the video game. You are ham-fisting yourself into a hobby that you are demanding bow to your fucking whims because you are not enjoying it. That's like me fucking saying like, oh, I like roller skating, but I hate having to be on skates. I think everybody should have to have go-karts instead. That's not fucking roller skating anymore, we retard. Go ride a go-kart.
Go ride a goat. All right.
I don't care what the fuck you do. Don't go in and talk to other people about how they can enjoy their fucking hobbies because you're not able to enjoy them the same fucking way. Look, the rules haven't changed, all right? I've been in this game since, 1987? And guess what? The rules have never fucking changed. You have never – I'm scaring my dog over here. You have never been able to just skip a boss. I have no idea why you would come in and just and say that shit. That's like going in and demanding Twilight be made into a create your own adventure because you don't like how restricted you feel during the fucking storyline. Like, so don't fucking read that book. Go read the book that is what you want. And if it's not there, heads up, DIY ethics, go fucking make it. Go do it. Go find a group of people and create a thing. If what you want doesn't exist, take the extra step and help make it exist. That's how you make the world a better place. Not by sitting there homogenizing and trying to shit on other people's hobbies just because they're not a good fit for you. Go fucking sit and spin. I mean, seriously, like, shove it up your ass sideways, please. All right, I'm done.
All right, man. I'm going to approach this two different ways, right? Because, beautiful. I love it. Okay, because this guy's saying that, like, oh, he thinks that boss battles are, like, you know, they change the difficulty curve. They get repetitive. And here's my thing, right? To me, boss battles are the highlights of fucking video games because basically each boss battle, it's like taking everything you've learned up to that point and having you incorporate that shit in a new and in a different way. Because think about it, most games are pretty fucking repetitive, but those boss battles break up that shit. And in most cases, and I am talking about old school games because now most modern games don't even have bosses anymore, which is fucking weird. That was the fucking reward, man. A kick-ass boss battle, you know? Like, how would... Imagine a game like Dark Souls with no bosses. How, like, stupid would that be, you know? So that's ridiculous. And then the other thing is, like, I'm getting really sick of these people that are like, why can't games be like this? Why can't games be like that? Let games be fucking games, man. Oh, yeah, you can skip ahead in a book. Guess what? A game is not a fucking book. Games are interactive entertainment. That's what they are. A book is just passive entertainment. They're two different things. And, you know, not to go off topic, it's the whole thing of like, oh, games shouldn't be challenging. Yes, they should be. That's what games are about. And I'm not just talking about videos. I'm talking about gaming, period. Fucking chess, checkers. There's challenge, man. So it's like you can't put shit that happens in other medium into video games. Video games are a unique medium in and on themselves, right?
Dude, do you know what a game without challenge is called? An activity.
Yeah, oh my God. So, is that what they want? Do they just want activities now? And you know what? If you want an activity, digital activity, sure. Not every fucking game fits that mold. And I love how all this is coming out because I'm just going to say because motherfuckers are having a hard time with Cuphead. Dudes are getting exposed right now, dude. It's fucking crazy. And yeah, like Brett said, we're not asking for, these reviewers or whatever to be elite, MLG guys. That's fucking retarded. But you need to have some sort of competence, man. You can't, and if you're not competent, you can't want every game to be catered to you. Because the vast majority of people who play video games, they want a fucking challenge. That's why games are great. Oh my God, you see shit like this. Oh, when you watch a movie, you're not challenged to see the next frame because it's a movie, you fucking dumbass. Totally different. I don't understand how these people don't understand that shit.
Well, they're trying to make false equivalents to passive entertainment. A book, like, first of all, the book analogy is retarded in multiple ways. Like, if you skip to the last page in a book, you still don't know the story, so
You
you
know?
lose. Yeah, you still have to read page by page, right? Like there's no way around it unless you get a cliff note, so you still have to read that page by page. So good luck with that. And with a movie, yeah, if you skip and fast forward, you don't know what the movie's about, so that's dumb also. And with a video game, yeah, you have to pay attention. You have to have just a level of competence where you can get around and have the eye hand coordination to play and beat the bosses and platform or whatever, if it's Cuphead, or have the timing and coordination to do PvP in a battle like Dark Souls or Absolver or something. But if you don't have that, you know how you get it? You play the game until you figure it out, and that's all you need to do. But and these games are I applaud games like what was mentioned here, because they're raising the bar on that stuff. They're bringing challenge back. Like it's not all about like, oh, you you have infinite lives. It's no consequence for dying. There's no consequence for that. You can get all these perks and what. No, it's going back to the simple old days of like, if you get slapped around, you die. If you're a bitch, you can't jump on platforms on time, you die. Like that's the games we grew up with. And I'm sorry that you're a special little flower and you can't handle it. Like you can grow some balls and just keep playing the game, and eventually you will figure it out. Like, so for a reviewer, and honestly, like asking for things like for a reviewer mode or whatever, there are such things in
Reviewer
games.
mode.
Yeah, where it's like I can get to see the game with no consequence, but no, that's not experiencing the game. Developers have that's called developer mode, but developers have that so they can test for bugs and see if features they add in work, right? But you ain't no developer, you're a reviewer, and in order to review a game authentically, you have to play it like a consumer would play it.
Yes.
And that's the bottom line. And if you can't do that, maybe you shouldn't be doing this job.
Hey, Chris, I want to make a baseball team where I can just have a button that lets me skip the batting part and just go straight to first base.
Why not just skip to the grand slam every time? You're batting 1,000.
Yeah, I mean, why is it fair that just because I'm terrible at baseball, I don't get to feel the thrill of a grand slam running across the plate and have not everybody cheer for me? I mean, that just seems like it's exclusive. I mean, it doesn't seem fair. I should just be able to hit a button and win and experience everything life has to offer, because that's how real life works.
No, real life doesn't work like that. And I'm glad games like Cuphead came along to shake things up. And by the way, I've been playing it. People, if you haven't played that game, you should support that game. It is good, and it old school hard. I'm stuck on this freaking clown with a roller coaster.
Oh my god, that
Christ.
clown, man! That
I get up to
fucking
the
clown.
carousel. Yeah, the last stage, dude. It shows you that little. You're almost at the end when it shows
Yeah.
you the little thing when you die. I'm like,
Yo, that's the
bitch.
worst screen ever, man. I hate that
is.
thing.
When you're just right there,
Yeah.
the little tip is like, come on.
Yeah,
son.
I'm like, God damn it. But yeah,
Cuphead exposed a lot of dudes, man. It's funny, man. All right. Actually, hopefully you don't get too mad about this hashling it, but we're gonna save your questions for next time because we're trying to wrap up here. So we don't really have any too much outro shit. We're gonna be back on Thursday. We're gonna be back on our normal schedules up until probably Thanksgiving. We're probably gonna be back on Wednesday again. But yeah, back to our normal schedule. And also, since I have you here, I was talking to a couple of the guys about this. Not too many changes on Throwdown, but slight tweaks because I'm calling this. We are on the road to 1,500. We're 1,300 now, so we want to get to 1,500 by the end of the year, right? So I'm gonna be more consistent with the Tony's takes, and we're gonna do more streaming as well. Obviously, everybody here is invited to stream whenever you can, So we're gonna just try to have something every day, because I really want to hit that mark, As for Twitch, we'll keep doing. I'm very disappointed with fucking Twitch, man. Like, we're doing what we're doing, and then like the numbers never go up, and then on YouTube, just a minimal effort gets us something, so it's like, all right. And we haven't been demonetized, which is a good thing. I don't know if us being partnered with YouTube is helping on that end, but we're pretty good right now. So yeah, we're gonna keep pushing shit. Try to get some more guests too. This is the good time of the year anyway, so we're probably gonna get more subs anyway because a lot of gaming shit is going on. Also, I need to check the embargo shit because I just got my review code for Shadow of War. If I could stream that, I will, because I think reviews are out, right? Correct me if I'm wrong about that, because I'm like, if reviews are out, I could stream this shit.
I don't
believe
know.
it, right? Jim Sterling put out a video about Shadow of War, didn't he?
Yeah.
Shadow of War.
Shadow of War. So
Oh
yeah,
boy, he was pissed.
yeah.
Yeah,
But again, obviously we want you guys to help us as much as you can. So because I know, I'm just gonna be honest. I know some of you guys out there listen to Throwdown and love it and shit. It's like, share it with your friends too, man. Let your buddies know about it. It's that simple. It doesn't cost you a dime. You just go, yo, Throwdown is awesome. Sub to them. You know what I'm saying? It's not that hard, man. So that's gonna do it for us. So thank you for watching and listening. Make sure to leave us questions for next week's episode in the comment section of this here episode on YouTube or over on the Coalition. All right, so subscribe to Throwdown on SoundCloud, iTunes, and YouTube. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch at Throwdown Show. Links are available in the description below. Once again, our show's Tony Polanco, and tonight I was joined by Emilio Lopez.
See you later, guys. And I wanted to thank all of you guys who from the fans of the show for showing up and at New York Comic Con and saying what's up. And sorry some of you guys didn't get to meet Tony. I mean, Tony's a free spirit at conventions, and he's a little hard to peg down. But I'm always there. And another thing, I hope to see you guys. If you missed me this convention, I'm also going to be back in New York next month for Anime New York, Anime NYC, the new anime show there. So I'm going to be sitting at tables doing the same thing. So yeah, drop by and thanks a lot.
Awesome. Chris Seeley.
Hey, take care, everyone.
Carlos Romero.
So I'm watching Food Wars, The Ancient Magus Bride, and Kino's Journey. If anybody is wondering what anime to watch.
Kino's Journey.
Oh, the new one, yeah.
Yep,
The
it's
original
I
one was
watched.
great.
Yep, the first episode came out and it's pretty good. I like it a lot.
Nice. And Brett Murdoch.
I think I'm calmed down now. I'm gonna be good.
Yeah, don't scare your dog, son.
Yeah.
All right, man. We'll see y'all next time. Later.
Deuces.
Later, guys.